Welcome to the Trust and May podcast, where we have real talk and ask hard questions to inspire healing or just more trauma humor. Either way, trust May, it's probably going to hurt. Welcome back to the Trust and May podcast. Lola and I are so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for the continued support. And what a treat it was to have my mom last week. I'm excited to have her for more episodes. I received so much feedback and encouragement from people that were touched by the episode. Some folks just because it was exciting for them to finally see my mom and get to know her a little bit, and others who they've been on this journey with me for years, got to see us reaching this point of our relationship, which neither of us honestly knew if it would happen. And so tonight I want to talk a little bit about that and some other things with regard to time. um, this world it's broken, right? It's ratchet. I say that all the time. Lord, I'm not meant for this dusty ratchet ass earth, but really it's because um I'm here for a purpose, right? My citizenship really is in heaven, but I'm in this world not of it. And so I'm going to feel that way until it's time to be with the Lord. But in spite of all the suffering that the brokenness in this world offers, there's so much more hope and encouragement that we can find in each other. And I had someone ask me recently about, a word from God that's really been on my heart. And the word that came to mind without hesitation, because it's been in my heart from God, is hope. And I know that we're all facing so much in life right now. For some of us, it might be little things. The day to day life is exhausting and stressful and overwhelming, and it feels like it's never enough. There's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough room, there's not enough transportation, there's not enough whatever it is. Sleep for me, not enough sleep. And for some, it's more life or death, right? It's a health situation. It's a divorce. It's a death of a loved one. It's a job loss. It can be so much more. So, whatever end of the spectrum your struggles may be right now, your pain is valid. Pain is pain. And just because there have been times that were harder that you were able to get through, it doesn't mean that whatever you're facing now, though maybe not as severe, it doesn't mean that it's not valid, that it hurts, or that it's frustrating, that it's exhausting. And for those facing things that just look like there's no way out, there's no end in sight, there's hope. There is hope. With my mom, I guess I can dive a little bit deeper into the dynamics because I feel like it's beautiful that everyone got to see where we are, and we are just really beginning to grow so much. But I feel like it's easy to lose sight of the fact of how hard things were. And I'm not sharing this to beat a dead horse. I'm not sharing this to be dramatic about the situation. I'm sharing this because if you haven't watched the last episode, watch the last episode to see that it took me time to really reflect on the experience I had with her in that moment. She had me choked up, y'all, like tears in my eyes. I'm getting choked up now because there were seasons in my life with my relationship with my mom where when I didn't have hope, I felt hopeless. I felt like nothing's going to change. How could it ever change? How could she ever be my mom? How could she ever be there for me in the ways that I want a mom to be? And so I want to take a step back to kind of talk about how things played out from my perspective, right? And none of this is disrespect or bashing against my mom or any moms out there, any parents out there. It's just what I experienced and what I saw growing up. That added to the really intense experiences that caused a break in our relationship to where we had no communication for those 6 years. And then the things leading to our healing now. And I share this because I can't stop your suffering. I can't stop the brokenness of this world, but I can encourage, I can share, I can stand with you and empathize. I have a heart for Jesus. I have a passion for discipling and pouring into others. And for those that don't believe, okay, well, I have a heart for loving you the way that my God says to love you and doing life with you the way that my God says to do life with each other. My goal isn't converting people into becoming believers. Do I desire that? Absolutely. But my goal is just to show up and let God do the rest. Show up in love, show up serving, show up in your suffering, washing the feet, holding the hands. So, walk with me. My mom, when my parents were married as a child, when I was a child, she was that trophy mom and wife. Truly. She was the most loyal, faithful, dedicated partner in crime to my dad. And when they started serving the Lord together, that looked like her being down for the Lord. Like she was his ride or die. She did anything and everything to make our lives better. And it's so wild that I knew that then to an extent, but I didn't understand the fullness of it, the value of it, the weight of it until now. My dad was a missionary and a pastor. I've mentioned that to you guys. And my mom was the backbone of so many things that he did. Obviously, they were a team, right? There was gifting and purpose in each of them. But there's so much that my dad did for God and for the church that could not have happened without my mom. And my mom is beautiful. And back then, I mean, she was significantly younger than my dad. I think they are 12, 13 years apart in age, 12 years. So, he had himself a little baddie in her 20s when he was up in his late 30s. Yeah, going into his 40s. She was beautiful. So, anyway, she was your perfect partner, wife, missionary, wife, leader, Mother's Day out. She was involved in all the things in church. We were in church 5, 6 days a week, y'all. It was ridiculous. 90s Southern Baptists, Latinos. But at home too, she was the mom that hosted Tupperware parties and the what was it called? Premier Designs Jewelry and Mary Kay. And she was the homeroom mom and baked cookies and made no baked cookies, so those aren't baked, but um she always had just everything looking so perfect. And we didn't have much, right? We grew up in generational poverty. We lived the lives of missionaries, a family that really survived and existed on donations and funds that were given to us so that my parents could do mission work. And I learned, later in life that my mom was really fundamental in those funds coming into the family. So when my parents split, well, before they split, even, my mom was so loyal and dedicated to my father that for a long time, I kind of resented her. And y'all, this is me keeping it real. I am not saying that I was right. I'm not saying that I'm proud, but I resented her because I could look back and see times that she chose my dad over us, times that he was so mean and strict and controlling and even abusive to us. And she chose to stand by his side. Now, there are some situations where I think that if she looked back, she would admit that she shouldn't have been okay with how intense he was, but it was just the culture and the time, and honestly, the church. Um, so I understand that now, and I forgive her now, and I have compassion and understanding now. But at the time, as a kid, I'm like, Ma, I'm hurt, and you're choosing him. So then later, when they split, that resentment really grew deeper because I saw her choose men over and over again, over and over against her kids. I don't even, how am I saying that? She chose men over us and she did it over and over again. That's what I'm trying to say. And There was a part of me that didn't understand the heartbreak that she was experiencing. There was a part of me that didn't understand the gifting that we have as women. And I'm just speaking from my perspective and my beliefs. I truly, wholeheartedly believe in the beauty of the woman God created me to be, the helpmate, the Isha to my Ish, the Eve to my Adam, the missing rib, the counterpart that's meant to be a supporting partner, not one above the other, but truly, truly a partner that is dedicated to my godly husband, only second to God, which means also before kids. I didn't see that though. I didn't know any of that. This is part of why I'm like sharing with you guys as I learn things, because I'm like, where was this information? I was in the church and no one told me any of this. And also lots of churches and organizations just they twist that truth to make it fit what they want. And we were part of a time and a culture, and a convention that definitely used biblical truth in a way to support, I would say, inequality, having some authority and control in some situations that weren't necessarily biblical, if that makes sense. Look, let me keep it real. The church and the Latino community and the Native American culture put men above women. We're different. We're created different. We have strengths that are different. But God never intended it to be exploited the way that a lot of these groups have done. So that's what I grew up with, though, right? I was born in the 80s. This was in the 90s. Anyway, as a kid, she continued to choose men. One, I didn't realize that that's part of how we're naturally created. Two, I didn't understand her brokenness and her seeking that love and validation because she had lost not only her husband and the father of her children when they split, but her pastor, her leader, right? My dad was her teacher. He had so many responsibilities, in the role that he stepped into. And unfortunately, the choices that he made did not protect and take care of the hearts that were following his lead. And again, hindsight's 2020. I didn't know or see or understand any of this. I didn't even understand the power of what my dad was doing. I just remember watching people and being like, dang, like he has control over them too, like leaning in their seats in awe when he spoke. And I just remember that for me, it was usually a fear thing that I was like, yes, sir, like paying attention. He didn't like for us to call him sir, but it was always yes. Yeah. So as a as a young teen, early adolescent child, my mom and I had some conflict pretty early on. Mostly because one, I was, like any other pubescent teen, emotional and thinking that I know everything. Now, I wasn't, because of my fear of my parents, I wasn't, I'd like to think that I wasn't super disrespectful. Like, I wasn't the type to talk back. I was very much afraid of that. But I was stubborn. I am stubborn. But I was stubborn. And I really felt it was my dad and me against the world, because I was that little girl that wanted my dad's validation and approval and his love. And I felt so different from the rest of my siblings. I was always the black sheep, whether it was because academically I was so far advanced that I had a hard time just being socially normal, whether it's because I look a lot like my dad, especially back then, or I was the only one that was really leaning into the Venezuelan culture and language and even the biblical stuff, getting involved in the church. After my parents split, I was on my own, riding a bus to church. And I felt like everything that I was doing and who I was trying to be was to fulfill an expectation set by my dad to feel worthy of his love. Because I didn't know God's love. I didn't know that I was worthy just for existing because God said so, because of Jesus. And I didn't know how special and valuable I was. I felt I had to earn all of it, right? I was in advanced everything, and if if we did well in school, we got rewarded. And I was the kid that if my 99, 98 dropped down to a 95 or 96, I was getting in trouble. While my siblings are like, quit trying so hard. Just fail sometimes and you're going to get rewarded when you pass. And I was like, nope, nope. Papa said. I was a little crybaby tattletale. I'm going to be honest, y'all. I I was a tough kid. I was a tough kid in the sense that my siblings didn't want to hang out with me. My cousins didn't want to hang out with me. And I was super sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person. I was hyper aware of people's expressions, emotions, vocabulary. I was absorbing things at a young age that most people, adults, don't even pay attention to today, honestly. And I didn't know what to do with all of that. And I wanted so badly for my dad to approve of me that it felt like us against the world. And so when my mom ended up, in a relationship with my ex stepdad that lasted for a long time, and he was a horrible human being, especially to her. He was physically, violently abusive to her. Um, I resented her more. Like, how could you choose that? And I remember thinking that because truly believed the physical abuse at home with my dad was the right thing and it was biblical and it was honoring God and him teaching us the way to live, do as they say, not as they do, and fear God and all those things. I really believed, though I hated it and I was scared, I believed it was right. And so a man putting his hands on a woman was not something I had ever seen from my dad. It was just him spanking us. Though it was extreme, it was excessive, it was abuse. I have marks to this day from it. It was taught to us that it was part of raising a godly child. So when my stepdad was abusive to my mom, I just remember being like, who is this? Why, mom? This can't be right. And he hated my dad. Oh, he hated my dad. So I ended up being this black sheep, odd girl out in my family who wanted to be with my dad more than anything. I loved learning about the cultures around the world because he continued traveling for work. After he left the church, he got into oil and gas, and I nerded out on all of it. And I just wanted to be loved and accepted. I wanted to be the apple of his eye. I didn't want to be one of his many kids from his many exes. I didn't want to be one of the kids that was rebelling and trying to get in trouble and go against everything that was being told and taught. And so the more I tried to be like my dad, the more I tried to be with my dad, the more I felt my mom and I break away from each other. Sometimes even I felt like I was receiving the brunt of a lot of her heartache and frustration between my dad breaking her heart and her new man hating my dad. So there were a lot of times that I was the one hearing all the things. Oh, tell your dad this, and you're just like your dad. And that hurt. That was really hard to hear. I can remember times just laying in the back seat of the car crying, 11, 12 years old, crying, softly, not saying anything, but crying, listening to a barrage of insults about my dad. And what's crazy is that instead of me believing any of it to be true, it made me just almost hate them for hating him. And it pushed me into wanting to be with him more and be like him more. And I felt like I had to defend him. And my mom, God bless her, she was just trying to survive. She was seeking love more than I was because I didn't even know the depths of love yet at that age. She was seeking safety, right? Keeping her violent partner happy, placating him. But at the time, I couldn't see that. At the time, I was just so resentful and hurt and angry. But I didn't know what anger felt like. I was a crybaby. Everything made me cry. If you would have asked me, honestly, even probably 15 years ago in my 20s, I would have never said that I was angry. I would have just said, oh, I was just a sensitive crybaby. My family used to play these games. They would literally like bet, okay, when she comes over, me, let's see who can make her cry first. And I thought it was funny. And it would be really deep, dark, awful stuff. Not like, ah, ha, 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 your hair's ugly. Like awful stuff. Like, that's why you're a failure. That's why your boyfriend cheats on you. Or that's why, and I for the longest time didn't know how to stick up for myself. I was afraid to talk back. I was afraid of my cousins and my siblings beating me up, honestly, because I had seen them do it. Um, but also, I was so hurt and I just wanted to be loved. So, my mom and our relationship began to divide more and more and more. So, when I started dating my, toxic boyfriend who was an adult when I was a child, and my mom, in her survival mode, did what she could to placate us as well because she worked full time to support us because her ex did not. And my dad didn't give her much child support. I mean, he supported us, but, four kids is a lot. So, um, she became the mom that was like, whatever you want to do. Like, I don't have the energy or capacity to argue and fight with you. And whatever you do, just don't piss off my that guy, my boyfriend. He's passed away now. So God rest his soul. And he was angry and he was mean and he was hateful to his death. So I hope he knew the Lord. Truly, like despite everything, I would never ever wish even on my enemy suffering in eternity. So she wanted to make sure that we didn't upset him. And there were some instances where that guy, yo, he was violent. He tried to stab my dad in front of us when I was 11. Ended up going to jail. And when my mom took him back and we begged her and we cried and we begged her not to, I just remember thinking like, do you even love us? Do you even love us? As a kid, as a teen, like you can't fathom the choices that they have to make in these seasons. They meaning parents or guardians, the adults in our lives. So easy as a kid and even as a young adult to be like, my parents should have fill in the blank. They should have protected us. They should have been healthy. They should have taken us to church. They should have been active. They should have been honest. They should have cared for our feelings. They should have comforted, whatever, fill in the blank. They should have been home. They shouldn't have worked so much. They should have worked more. They should have gotten an education. They should have owned their business, whatever it is. But says who? Says who? The Bible says honor your mother and father, and it says parents do not provoke your children. But there's nowhere in the Bible or anywhere that God said, okay, this is the cookie cutter, white picket fence, perfect little family I expect you to be at all. And I think back to some of the stories of the greatest character stories, heroes of the Bible, and they had some pretty broken families, some pretty traumatic things happening. But God, they still chose to partner with God, and God did amazing things through them. He redeemed them. And I see that in my family. I see that in my family now. So for years, we just grew further and further apart. And I resented her more and more. And I felt like for the longest time, I would say, I do not want to be anything like my mom. Nothing like my mom. I don't want to be the type of woman that is codependent and puts a shitty man before the people that I love and that love me. I don't want to be the type of woman that's bitter and resentful towards my ex. I don't want to be the type of woman that's a single mom. Instead of seeing the strength and the courage and the perseverance that she has, I saw failure. I saw failure because that justified my anger. It justified my heartbreak. It justified my lack of needs being met. Do I excuse any parent, any guardian not providing for their children? No. That's not what I'm saying. But can I show compassion and grace now that I understand? Now that I understand what it means to survive, now that I understand what it means to be divorced, to go through heartbreak, now that I understand what it means to fear for my life because my partner's dangerous. And here's the crazy thing, I understand how all of that feels, and I still don't know the depths of what my mom felt because I've never had children of my own. I've never known the pain of losing the father of your children. I have never had my own children, so I've never been in a situation of having to make a decision in front of my children that could mean life or death for me or for them. And in all the years that I've ever struggled in my life, I've never had children looking up to me for not just physical and emotional and financial needs, but psychological needs, spiritual needs. I've never had all of that on my own while also trying to survive, literally not get killed by somebody, not including the manipulation and heartbreak and the bullshit that my dad was still putting her through for a long time. Like my mom's a fucking warrior. And my heart breaks for her that she didn't have anyone who could see that in her. I couldn't see that. And to see her come out on the other side of all of the things and more, because there was more over the years, and see that she is gracious and beautiful and hopeful and passionate and kind and forgiving and attentive. When she said on this last episode, she said that she doesn't ever want me out of her life. Y'all don't realize how profound of a statement that was, because there were some seasons in our lives when I was younger that I was out of her life. I lived with my dad. I ran to my dad every chance. He beat the crap out of me, but I still chose him every chance I got. And there were seasons in my life when even if I was living with her, I did everything I could to be away, whether it was a boyfriend or school stuff or friends. And then, of course, as an adult later, when the things happened with my uncle and I put him in prison and she chose to support him, I meant it and I followed through with cutting her out of my life. And if I were to go back and had a chance to do it all over again, someone asked me, like, would you cut her out of your life again? And I would say yes. Because at that time, it's what I needed to guard my heart, to guard my mind, to stay focused on keeping a heart of justice and not a heart of vengeance or revenge or anything bitter. It was so much harder not having her support, but at the same time, if I were to go back and keep her in my life without her support, it would have really, I feel, caused damage that wouldn't have led to the change that needed to happen in my family, which is now affecting generations to come for the better. And I think too that our healing, our mending wouldn't be as deep and as strong as it is now if the rupture hadn't been so great. I had someone ask me after talking about the episode with my mom, May, if you could go back in time and talk to the younger version of yourself that was in the early stages of this whole experience of you and your mom having your relationship um, destroyed, completely detached, what would you tell her? And I was like, whoa. I have actually never had anyone ask me that question. And I had never thought about it. But I know that I would go to her and I would say, May, baby May, because I was still very much a baby at that time in my walk with Christ, in life. May, don't give up hope. Hold on. Don't let go. A time is going to come at the end of all of this when you're going to have a mom, your mom. You're going to have something you've never had before. Hold on. No matter what, no matter what comes, I promise it's going to get better. Whatever you're facing, whatever's hurting, whatever's tearing you apart, wearing you out, breaking you down, it can get better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's this timeline of time of life, and it's an experience that's happening right now, and it's really a blip on this radar, this time. It's just a dot on the timeline. It feels like the whole timeline. And it is a long time sometimes, right? We went 6 years with no communication, and we are now only 8, almost 9 years into rebuilding our relation. 9 years, y'all. We've been rebuilding our relationship for 9 years, and the last 3 months have been the most profound growth. The first time that I have felt like consistently like this is my mom. And for the first time in my life that I am seeing things through a lens of compassion and love and understanding for her. Y'all, I'm stubborn. Dang, I make things hard. But it took work, it took time, it took dedication, it took prayer, it took scripture, it took community. Y'all, I would not be who I am today if it were not for my community. My mom and I would not be where we are today if it were not for the community that surrounded us, separate of each other, but also together. It made my heart so full to hear people say that they were impacted just seeing us laugh together. Because those are the same people who were there taking my calls when I was crying, when I was angry, when I was drunk, when I was shutting down, when I was saying ugly things, when I felt alone, when I felt like, wow, I'm going to have kids someday and they're not going to know their grandma. Or if I have a husband or kids someday, I'm not going to be anything like her. And for them to still be here and say they get to see the fruits of God's miracles and his redemption. And y'all, they never judged me. And they never said, "You're right, and your mom this." No. They always encouraged me to seek the Lord, to be in prayer, to let it out, to be honest. But they would ask me questions over the years. That's my favorite thing is asking questions and being asked questions. They would ask me questions like, "Well, have you asked her how she feels about that? Have you considered what she went through? Do you know where or why that came up? Can you see the good in how maybe you have some similarities? Why does that upset you? Why would that be so bad? Who haven't you forgiven? What are you holding on to? Is it really making things better? You think being in control and having power is somehow making things better? Because, newsflash, I don't control anything. Shoot, the only control I have over myself is dying to self, and that even I have to pray for help. So I don't really actually have control. So, whatever it is, big or small, I promise it can get better. But I don't sit here and say this like, oh, God's so great and it's all going to be wonderful someday. So just hold on tight. It's work, y'all. It's work. It's therapy. It's firing that therapist that is not actually pouring into you and giving you the tools that you need. It's going to the group sessions and connecting and relating with other people who've experienced suffering, but who are seeking growth and healing, not staying somewhere where people just want to be poor me, woe is me, I'm a victim. It's finding community that are going to love you enough to hold you accountable and turn you back to God and pray for you and pray with you and call you out. And they're going to celebrate and they're going to rejoice and they're going to teach you how to celebrate the little things. They're going to teach you how to see the beauty in the little moments. My mentor taught me, she said, baby girl, people are who they are. No matter how much work you do to grow and to heal and to mature, that's between you and God. Just because you're doing all that work doesn't mean anybody else has signed up to do that work with you. And they sure as heck aren't going to do it for you. Just like me doing the work has to be for me. So when people show up being who they are, doing and saying the things that reflect who they are, accept it for what it is and be free of the resentment and the anger that comes with that. The moments they show up and they show love or they show grace or they act in a way that is more godly and loving, take that as a gift and as a blessing. But when they are who they are, you're the only one getting upset that they're being who they are because that's all they signed up to be. So when they are greater and doing more and going above and beyond, take that as a gift. Take it as a gift. Don't hold it against them. Don't measure them against that. Because am I perfect? Hell no. Nah. Even now, I've got so much growth and healing that's still happening, but I'm being intentional with it. I'm doing the work. And so that's what I want to really say is like there's no one size fits all. You guys hear me say that all the time. Show up and let God do the rest. But keep showing up, whether it's therapy or to your people. The books, the audio books, the CDs, the YouTube, whatever. I have done it all and I still do it all. Can you get a little information overload? Yes. A time has to come when you're doing like practical application to actually change your life and start applying the tools. But I have done a combination of things to help heal and grow. And forgiveness is freeing. Y'all know I talk about that all the time. And I feel like there's a lot of forgiveness that I couldn't fully reach until I forgave myself. Because as much as I wanted to look back and blame and resent my parents for their failures, for being flawed humans, oh, how dare they be humans trying to figure out life and endure their own suffering while having these, sticky fingered little needy ass kids asking me, especially asking 5 million questions and being hungry all the time. I needed to forgive myself. And I needed to let go of any expectations and resentment that I had towards my parents and forgive them too. And see them through the lens of God and the compassion that He has for all of us in our suffering. The fact that He can look at me at my worst, the fact that my friends can see me at my worst, saying and doing ugly things and still be like, but I love you. I love you so much that I'm going to call you out, that I'm going to encourage you, that I'm going to cry with you, that I'm going to pray for you, that I'm going to show up, I'm going to feed you. I have every opportunity to do the same for others, and so do you. But you got to start with yourself. You got to do the work, and you got to hold on to that hope. So, whatever giant you're facing, whatever little tiny monsters that are coming together to collaborate and create a big giant, it can get better. There is hope. There is hope, but it takes work, it takes time, it takes patience. If I went back to that younger version of me and said, hey, baby girl, hold on, there's hope. coming, but be patient. Be patient. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. I see you. Whatever it is you're facing, I see you. My heart breaks for you. My heart breaks with you. But I love you enough to tell you that with time, with God, with work, with the right community, with scripture, prayer, actually applying the things we're learning, forgiving and letting go of victim identities and passing blame and resentment, it's worth it. It's worth it. I look at my mom and I'm like, whoa, what an honor it is to have some of her traits. What a blessing it is to see her for the beautiful woman that she is. What a gift it is to have her as my mother. Does that mean she's perfect and I see her with rose colored glasses? No. But that's also because I don't see myself like that. Only God is perfect. Jesus was perfect. But I see her and I'm like, dang, she is a fierce, amazing, strong warrior of a woman. And I am blessed to have a fraction of the tenacity and perseverance and grace and patience that she has. And when she struggles and when she's hurting and when she's doubting, oh, my heart breaks for her. I just want to be like, Ma, if you could just see you the way God sees you, the way that I see you. And since I can't make her, all I can do is pour love into her and remind her and continue being intentional with my time with her and learning from her. Y'all, I am learning from her. There was a season in my life where I thought there was never going to be anything that I could learn from that woman. And not because she had nothing to offer, but because I was an asshole. I was a prideful, stubborn, resentful, angry, hurt child. Now I'm like, Mom, tell me about this and teach me that. And how'd you do this? And I'm so proud of you. Y'all, if your parents are still alive, tell them you're proud of them. You see them, you love them. Pick something small to start with. Hey, I love that you're really good at this, or you're really funny with that, or graceful with this, helpful with that. If we took the time to look at people for all of the gifts and blessings that they are, that they have, instead of the failures and mistakes and resentments we hold against them, what a beautiful world this would be. And how much faster our hearts would heal. How much more we'd love ourselves. So, whether it's your spouse or your kids or your parents or coworkers or friends, I encourage you, forgive, let it go. And if they're not someone that's safe or healthy to have in your life, let it go and focus on who you do have. Because I know you have someone. And if you feel like you have no one, that's okay. I've been there too. So many times I cried myself asleep alone, thinking I had no one. But you're not alone. Yes, God is with you. But I'm not going to sit here and just plug and be like, oh, okay, well, God's with you, so you're not alone. You shouldn't feel lonely. The reality is we're humans and we're still going to feel lonely at times, even if we know God. But what I know is that if we ask Him to bring the people in our lives and open our hearts and our ears to hear and see those who really want to be there for us, we got to let them in. And if you feel like you don't have anyone that you can fathom to be that person, pray about it and reach out to me. Reach out to me. Like, I mean it when I say I'm here for y'all. And if I'm not physically able to actually have a connection with you, I have community, I have resources, I have people who love God and love you. And I love you. Even if I've never met you, I love you because God loves you. So, whatever you're facing, remember there's hope. And on the days that you can't muster the hope yourself, we're out here rooting for you, praying for you, cheering for you, waiting for you to let us in. I really hope that you're encouraged. Thank you for letting me keep it real and just pour my heart out. And I hope and pray that this adds some color to just the beautiful masterpiece that God is painting in this relationship with my mom. To know that there were seasons when we did not speak and I couldn't fathom the idea of her being my mother. Thinking about generations to come not knowing her existence. And now we're laughing together, taking selfies together. I'm like, can I come over on Sunday? It's beautiful. It's not perfect, but it's a blessing. It's a gift and it's good. God said it's good, so it is good. God bless you. Thank you.